My daughter's teacher taught a blood is blue fact, so I showed up and proved it wrong. What's the most wrong thing your kid has ever been taught in school? My 4th grade daughter Lily came home, pointed at the veins on her wrist, and said, "Mrs. Wilson taught us blood is blue inside your body, and it only turns red when it hits oxygen." I told her gently, "That's not true. Blood is always red because of hemoglobin. It can look darker in veins, and your skin can make veins look blue, but the blood isn't blue." Lily stared at me like I was messing with her. "But she showed us a whole PowerPoint, Dad. She had diagrams from our science book." I'm an ER nurse at Mercy General, so the next morning I packed my scrubs and emailed Mrs. Wilson. I asked if I could do a quick 15-minute presentation for career day about blood and how we draw it. She replied fast and said she loved the idea. I figured it would be easy. That afternoon, she introduced me as Lily's dad, who works at the hospital, and the kids stared at me from their desks. I said, "Raise your hand if you learned blood is blue inside your body." Almost every hand went up. Mrs. Wilson smiled proudly. I pulled a sealed vacuum blood tube from my pocket. "We use this to draw blood," I said. "There's no air in here, so there's no oxygen." I held it up and asked, "So if blood only turns red when it hits oxygen, what color should it be inside this tube?" A few kids looked at each other, totally confused. I showed a photo on my phone of sealed tubes from my job, filled to the line. "Still red," I said. Then I showed a simple diagram from a current medical book. Arteries, bright red. Veins, darker red. A couple kids blurted out questions at once, like, "So why do veins look blue?" I answered fast and kept it simple. One boy flipped open his science book and said, "But it says blue right here." I checked the copyright page. 1998, I said. "That's old, and science gets updated." Mrs. Wilson's smile vanished. She stood up and cut me off. "Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Time for math," she said, loud and sharp. As I packed up, a girl raised her hand and asked, "So our book is wrong?" The class buzzed even louder. Mrs. Wilson started, "The curriculum says," so I pulled up the state science standards on my phone and said, "Actually, the standards say this myth should be corrected." Mrs. Wilson walked to the door and said, "Mr. Johnson, hallway, now." The kids went silent as the door shut behind us. In the hallway, she hissed, "Parents like you make my job impossible. Now they'll question everything I say." I kept my voice calm. "Isn't that the goal? Teach them to ask questions and check facts." She snapped, "I've been teaching for 22 years. I'm not changing my lesson because a nurse wants to play expert." I didn't argue back. I just said, "This is basic science," and I left. That night, Lily asked if she was in trouble because Mrs. Wilson kept giving her hard looks after my talk. I told her no. The next day, Lily came home crying with a quiz covered in red marks and a big F at the top. One question was, "What color is blood inside the body?" Lily wrote red, and Mrs. Wilson wrote incorrect, blue until oxygen. Lily kept saying, "But you said I should tell the truth." The next morning, Lily asked if she could stay home just this once. I told her we'd fix it, but I could tell she didn't believe me yet. I printed the state standard that named the myth. I grabbed screenshots from a medical text. I brought Lily's quiz. Then I asked for a meeting with the principal. Principal Davis met with me the next morning. He listened, looked through my papers, and then called Mrs. Wilson in. When she walked into his office, she said, "This is how I've always taught it. It helps kids understand." Principal Davis pointed at the standard and asked, "But is it correct?" Mrs. Wilson paused. "It's easier for them," she said. I said, "My daughter is getting punished for writing the truth." Principal Davis asked her, "Is blood blue inside the body?" Mrs. Wilson's face went tight. After a long beat, she said, "No, it's red." Principal Davis nodded. "Then Lily's answer is correct," he said. "Her grade gets fixed today, and this lesson gets corrected today." Mrs. Wilson started to argue about the old textbook, and Principal Davis cut in. "Authority isn't more important than accuracy," he said. He wrote a note and handed it to her. "Return Lily's quiz with the correct grade before dismissal." Mrs. Wilson stood up so fast her chair scraped, and she left. After school, Lily ran up to me holding the quiz again. The F had been crossed out, and an A- was written at the top. She looked like she could breathe again. She said, "She just put it on my desk and walked away." I squeezed her shoulder and said, "You weren't wrong. You were right." And Lily nodded, wiped her face with her sleeve, and walked back.